Alright, so in this video we're checking out the BrotherHobby LPD 2806.5 1300 kV motor. So this motor here is on this 7-inch frame, which previously had the T-Motor F90 1300 kV motor, which is also a 2806.5 motor. It's almost identical in every spec, almost down to the weight. 41 grams, they're both about 41 grams without the wires. Say 70-75 aluminum for the bell, N52H curved magnets, yeah, I mean, titanium hollow core shaft, pretty much standard stuff here. It looks almost identical in terms of the windings and everything. Actually, I'll put a link to the Instagram posting with the pictures of the motor in detail if you want to see a little bit closer up shots than from what's inside this video. That'll be down in the description, but basically, this is the same motor that was also from BrotherHobby, the Avenger series. It was also 2806.5 1300 kV, and which, by the way, it's also available in other kVs, I think 1500 and 1700 kV, just like the Avenger series. But I'm flying the same 1300 kV that I flew with the T-motors that I was talking before, and these are essentially the same as the Avenger series motors. Just that they changed the bell, so the appearance is mostly different. Obviously, you got the green color, the bell shape's a little bit different, but the weight's about the same as well, about 41 grams without the wire. So the performance ought to be the same. I never flew the Avenger, but I heard that's a pretty good motor too. And this T-Motor F90 was a pretty good motor as well. Now, the only difference between the BrotherHobby and the T-Motor, at least right now, is the price. The regular price is $26.99 for the BrotherHobby motor, and it's $29.99 for the T-Motor F90, at least on race day quads. Of course, on other stores, prices may vary. And if you're looking for basically the same motor but at a budget price, I believe the Avenger series, which is essentially the same motor as this one here, just looks black. I think it's on sale now for $22.99. So if you're looking for this size motor, 2806.5 1300 kV for your 7-inch, then the Avenger series is a pretty good value at $22.99. Now, in terms of the performance of the motor, basically compared to the way the T-motor flew, it's virtually identical. I can't really tell much of a difference between these two. Now, granted, I'm not racing these. I'm not going full throttle. I'm not really sure if there's a spec class for 7-inch racing at 1300 kV. I'm just kind of cruising around, and what I was trying to figure out was how it was handling low throttle changes. So if you quickly change direction, for example, what sort of reaction are you getting from the motor? And from what I can tell, the response on both these motors is, as far as I can tell, there's not a whole lot of difference. It pretty much flew the same in the way it felt to me. I didn't change the pitch tune or anything. I flew with the same battery, the same 6S 1300 that I did before with the T-motor. So just comparing it based on the same PID tune and everything and the way it responded, which is what I was mostly concerned about, what I was mostly interested in, it felt like the motor was pretty much in the same response in terms of like how reactive it was, how quickly it would respond to my throttle changes and direction changes. It was totally the same as the T-motor as far as I could tell. Now, obviously, for 7-inch quads, the preferred size these days is this 2806.5. I think there's a trend kind of leaning towards maybe even bigger or wider stators, like a 3006 or 3005 motor or something like that. But at least right now, this seems to be the size that is pretty popular. And it used to be like, people would say, well, 2207 or 2407 would be fine for 7-inch, but the reason those went out of favor and these bigger motors are more in favor is because it's not so much how much top-end power you have or how much overall power you have at a certain position in the throttle. It's how the quad actually behaves and how controllable the quad is based on the PID controller, because while the motor does react to your inputs from your RC controller, there's actually a lot of other things going on behind the scenes with the flight controller to maintain the quad in terms of like, with this, especially if you're carrying a lot of weight, if you're carrying a really big battery, for example, on these 7 inches, then the bigger motor is going to be able to handle the overall mass of the quad a lot easier than a smaller motor. And that's why these bigger motors are more in favor now. So, based on that, based on, just my experience with these bigger 2806 motors versus the smaller 2407 motors, I think that if you are carrying a lot of payload, you definitely want to go with the bigger motor, because it's going to be easier to pid tune, and it's going to fly smoother overall. It's not going to be as it's not going to fly worse when you basically hit like things like wind, for example. Things that are outside forces are going to have a much bigger effect on a smaller motor versus this bigger motor. So those are sort of the advantage of why you want to go with these bigger motors. They are, of course, more expensive than your smaller 22 or 24 size motors compared to these larger motors. Anyway, that's pretty much it. That's all I gotta say about this one. If you want to see the other video on the T motor, compare. It looks pretty much the same to me. If you guys see any differences, let me know down in the comments, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.